Gratitude is not a reaction to what has been received. It is the frequency that summons the miracle still unseen. This guided prayer takes you beyond superficial thanksgiving into the vibrational field where appreciation becomes sacred technology of manifestation. In the ancient words of Thoth, you will learn to cultivate gratitude as a state of being, not as temporary practice. Here, recognition transforms into hermetic code. Here, the higher mind awakens through the alchemy of conscious appreciation. Prepare to dissolve resistance, expand beyond the limited self, and anchor the vibration that precedes all transformation. Let these words find you. I come before the sacred threshold where silence becomes language. I arrive at the temple where thought dissolves into breath. I stand in this eternal present moment, beyond the noise of hours, beyond the weight of yesterday and the pull of tomorrow. I place my awareness here. I allow the world outside to fade. I feel my body as a vessel. I recognize my breath as a bridge between dimensions. I open myself to the transmission that lives beyond words, beyond mind, beyond the limits of what I have believed myself to be. I invoke the presence of Thoth, ancient keeper of the cosmic codes, scribe of invisible laws, guardian of the sacred alphabet through which reality is written. I call upon the wisdom that flows through the eternal library of existence. I acknowledge the intelligence that moves through stars, through soil, through the pulse of blood in my veins. I recognize that I am held within a web of consciousness far greater than my small understanding. I bow before the mystery. I surrender my need to control. I offer myself as a channel for the frequencies that seek to move through me now. I declare my willingness to receive. I open the doors of perception that have remained closed. I dissolve the barriers I have built between myself and the sacred. I acknowledge the divine architecture that governs all things. I attune myself to the rhythm of universal law. I align my inner compass with the magnetic pull of truth. I understand that this moment is not random. I see that I have been called here by a current deeper than conscious choice. I recognize the invisible hand that guides my steps even when I cannot see the path. I come to cultivate gratitude, not as a practice of the mind alone, not as empty repetition or spiritual obligation, but as a frequency that transforms the very substance of my being. I understand that gratitude is not merely acknowledgement of what has been given. It is a sacred technology. It is a key that unlocks dimensions of existence I have not yet touched. It is a vibrational portal through which the universe pours itself into form. I recognize that when I vibrate in true gratitude, I become aligned with the generative force of creation itself. I acknowledge the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. I see that the outer world reflects the inner landscape of my consciousness. I understand that what I perceive as reality is shaped by the lens through which I observe. I recognize that gratitude is the clearest lens. It reveals the hidden abundance that has always surrounded me. It illuminates the blessings I have walked past in blindness. It opens my eyes to the miracle of existence itself. I see now that everything is gift. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of awareness. I call upon the principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. All is frequency. I understand that my emotional state is not merely a reaction to circumstance. It is a vibrational broadcast that shapes the field around me. When I vibrate in complaint, I magnetize more reasons to complain. When I vibrate in scarcity, I close the channels through which abundance flows. But when I vibrate in gratitude, I tune myself to the frequency of receiving. I become a harmonic match for blessings beyond my imagination. I align myself with the generosity of the cosmos. I recognize that gratitude is not passive acceptance. It is not resignation to suffering. It is not denial of pain. It is a profound act of spiritual sovereignty. It is the declaration that no matter what circumstances surround me, I choose to see through the eyes of grace. I choose to recognize the intelligence woven through all experience. I choose to trust the design, even when I cannot comprehend the pattern. I choose to honor the sacred curriculum of my life exactly as it unfolds. I feel the presence of Thoth expanding in my awareness, the one who sees from the perspective of eternity, the one who understands that all experiences serve the evolution of consciousness, the one who knows that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, nothing is outside the circle of divine purpose. I allow this perspective to flow into my limited human vision. I permit myself to see through ancient eyes. I open to the knowing that transcends personal story. I acknowledge the gifts I have received, the breath that fills my lungs without effort or thought, the heart that beats without my command, the body that heals itself while I sleep, the consciousness that animates this flesh, the awareness that perceives these very words. I see the miracle of existence itself. I recognize the impossibility of my own being. I marvel at the mystery that I am here at all. I bow before the sacred improbability of consciousness experiencing itself through this form. I feel gratitude rising in me like water from a hidden spring, not forced, not manufactured, but emerging from a deeper place, a place that is always known, a place that remembers what the mind has forgotten. I allow this feeling to move through me without control. I let it wash through the channels of my being. I permit it to cleanse the residue of bitterness. I invite it to dissolve the calcification of resentment. I welcome it as medicine. I receive it as transmission. I declare that I am ready, ready to see what I have not seen, ready to receive what I have pushed away, ready to recognize the abundance that has been waiting for my acknowledgement, ready to vibrate at the frequency of grace. I open my hands. I soften my grip. I release the tight fist of wanting and allow myself to rest in the open palm of receiving. I trust that I am held. I know that I am guided. I feel the presence of something infinitely larger moving through this sacred moment. And I say yes. I say yes to the journey. I say yes to the transformation. I say yes to the cultivation of gratitude as a pathway home to my divine nature. I now release the grip of the outer world. I let go of the voices that have been speaking through me. I disconnect from the frequency of urgency that has ruled my days. I step back from the endless stream of demands, expectations, and roles I have been performing. I withdraw my attention from the surface of things. I turn away from the theater of appearances. I recognize that I have been living in a trance. I see that I have been identified with what is temporary, with what is shifting, with what is unreal. I release the noise, the mental commentary that never stops, the endless analysis, the rehearsing of conversations, the replaying of past moments, the projecting into futures that may never arrive. I see this machinery of thought for what it is, a pattern running on its own momentum, not who I am, not my true nature. I gently disengage from its pull. I let the thoughts continue if they must, but I no longer mistake them for reality. I no longer believe that I am the voice in my head. I let go of time, the pressure of schedules, the weight of deadlines, the anxiety of being late or being early, the constant measuring of before and after. I step out of the river of linear progression. I recognize that time is a construct, a useful illusion, but not the deepest truth. I allow myself to rest in the eternal now. This breath, this heartbeat, this singular point of presence where past and future collapse into pure being. I dissolve the persona, the masks I wear for the world, the versions of myself I present to different audiences, the carefully constructed identity I have defended for so long. I see that these are costumes, useful perhaps, but not essential, not real. I feel the exhaustion of maintaining these facades, the effort of pretending, the strain of performing. I let it all fall away. I permit myself to be undefined, unknown, uncategorized. I rest in the naked awareness beneath all roles. I release attachment to outcome, the need for things to be different than they are, the resistance to what is present, the grasping for what is absent. I see how this attachment has created suffering, how it has kept me in perpetual dissatisfaction, how it has blinded me to the perfection of this moment exactly as it unfolds. I open my hands. I stop pushing. I stop pulling. I allow reality to be what it is without my interference. I descend beneath the layer of preferences, beneath the judgments of good and bad, beneath the categories of right and wrong. I recognize that these are filters, interpretations, stories I have layered over raw experience. I begin to see with innocent eyes, with the gaze that perceives without labeling, that witnesses without condemning, that observes without needing to change what is observed. I sink deeper into silence, not the silence of absence, but the silence that is alive, pregnant with presence, full of awareness. I feel this silence as a substance, as a field, as a sacred space that holds all sound within it. I rest in this silence. I let it support me. I discover that beneath the noise of my life, this silence has always been here, waiting, patient, eternal. I withdraw my energy from the periphery, from the scattered fragments of attention I have given to 1,000 distractions. I gather myself. I call back the pieces of my consciousness that have been dispersed. I feel myself becoming more concentrated, more present, more whole, like light focusing through a lens, like water gathering into a single stream. I become coherent. I recognize the temple within, not a metaphor, not a concept, but an actual sacred architecture that exists in the invisible dimensions of my being. I sense its presence now. I feel its gravity pulling me inward. I know that this temple has been here all along, that I have carried it with me through every experience, that no matter how far I have wandered, this sanctuary has never left me. I cross the threshold. I enter the interior chapel where the noise cannot reach, where the world's demands dissolve, where time loses its authority. I feel the temperature change. The quality of light shifts. The air becomes heavier with presence. I know I am approaching something sacred, something that must be met with reverence, something that asks for my complete attention. I bow before the altar within. I kneel in the chapel of my own heart. I recognize this as the true place of worship, not in buildings made of stone, not in rituals performed by others, but here, in this intimate sanctuary, in this secret chamber where my soul meets the infinite. I feel the holiness of this space. I honor it with my full presence. I listen, not with my ears, but with something deeper. I attune myself to the subtle frequencies that move beneath thought. I open to the wisdom that speaks in whispers, to the guidance that comes not as words, but as knowing, as feeling, as resonance. I create space for this transmission. I empty myself of agenda. I become a vessel, a receiver, a sacred hollow through which the divine can pour. I feel the layers dissolving, the defenses falling away, the armor I have worn softening and releasing. I allow myself to be vulnerable here, exposed, raw, real. I recognize that this vulnerability is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. It is the courage to stand naked before truth, to let myself be seen by the all-seeing eye of consciousness, to surrender the false protections that have kept me separate. I arrive at the center, the still point around which everything revolves, the axis of my being, the unmoved mover. I rest here. I breathe here. I exist here without effort or strain. I feel the peace that has no opposite, the silence that cannot be disturbed, the presence that is always here beneath the chaos of surface experience. I have come home. I have returned to what I never truly left. I have remembered what I always knew. and in this center I am ready to receive the deeper mysteries that wait to be revealed. I awaken now to the truth that was written before time began. I remember the ancient knowing inscribed in the fabric of existence itself. I activate the divine intelligence that has always lived within me, dormant beneath the noise of ordinary consciousness. I call forth the mind that is not mine alone, but belongs to the infinite. I invoke the wisdom of Thoth, master of the cosmic laws, keeper of the keys that unlock the mechanisms of reality. I open myself to the transmission of eternal principles. I recognize the first law: the all is mind, the universe is mental. What I perceive as solid matter is thought made dense. What I experience as reality is consciousness observing itself. I understand now that my mind is not contained within my skull. It extends infinitely. It touches all things. It participates in the great mental fabric from which all phenomena emerge. I see that my thoughts are not private whispers but creative forces that shape the field around me. I understand that gratitude is not emotion alone. It is a frequency of mind, a way of thinking that aligns me with the generative principle of the cosmos. When I think with gratitude, I participate consciously in the mental architecture of abundance. I become a co-creator with the universal mind. I add my voice to the great song of affirmation that sustains all worlds. I recognize that every thought of appreciation sends ripples through the invisible dimensions where form is born. I invoke the law of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. As in heaven, so on earth. I see that my inner state creates my outer experience. What lives in my consciousness manifests in my circumstances. The gratitude I cultivate in my heart becomes the abundance I witness in my world. The recognition I give to blessings multiplies those blessings. I understand that I am not separate from what I observe. I am the lens through which reality takes shape. I feel the law of vibration moving through me. Nothing rests. Everything moves. All is frequency. I recognize that my emotional states are not passive reactions, but active vibrations that attract matching frequencies from the field of infinite possibility. When I vibrate in gratitude, I become magnetic to grace. I tune myself to the channel where miracles are broadcast. I align with the frequency at which the universe says yes. I become a resonant chamber for blessings to amplify. I acknowledge the law of polarity. Everything has its opposite. Every truth contains its contradiction. Light and shadow, joy and sorrow, abundance and lack. I see that these are not separate realities but two ends of the same spectrum. I understand that I have the power to move along this spectrum through the direction of my focus. When I choose gratitude, I slide toward the pole of abundance. When I choose complaint, I drift toward scarcity. The spectrum remains, but my position upon it shifts according to where I place my attention. I recognize the law of rhythm. Everything flows. Everything has its tides, rise and fall, expansion and contraction, day and night, seasons of plenty and seasons of emptiness. I see that resistance to this rhythm creates suffering. But when I meet each phase with gratitude, I harmonize with the natural pulse of existence. I honor the winters as preparation for spring. I bless the darkness as the womb of light. I trust the wisdom of the cycles that govern all life. I feel the law of cause and effect operating through my being. Every action generates consequences. Every thought plants seeds. Every word I speak sends ripples into the future. I understand that gratitude is a cause that produces specific effects. When I practice appreciation, I set in motion chains of blessing that return to me multiplied. When I acknowledge what I have received, I open the channels for more to flow. The universe responds to my recognition with greater gifts. This is not magic. This is law. I invoke the law of gender. All contains both masculine and feminine principles, giving and receiving, action and receptivity, yang and yin. I see that true gratitude balances both polarities. It is active appreciation that acknowledges consciously. It is receptive openness that allows blessing to enter. I cultivate both. I thank with intention. I receive with surrender. I honor the dance of these complementary forces within my consciousness. I call upon Thoth once more, the one who sees through the veils of illusion, the one who reads the hidden code beneath surface appearances, the one who understands that reality is written in symbols, in frequencies, in laws that cannot be broken, only aligned with or resisted. I ask for the clarity to see as he sees, to think as the divine mind thinks, to operate according to universal principle rather than personal preference. I recognize my nature as co-creator, not a victim of circumstances, not a passive receiver of random events, but an active participant in the manifestation of my reality. I see that through the quality of my consciousness, I shape what emerges in my experience. Through gratitude, I declare what I wish to amplify. I cast my vote for beauty. I invest my attention in abundance. I water the seeds of blessing with my recognition. I understand that the hermetic path is not about acquiring new knowledge. It is about remembering what I have always known, activating what has always been present, aligning with laws that have never changed. I feel these principles awakening in my cells, ancient memories stirring, divine intelligence coming online, the mind of Thoth merging with my own awareness. I am becoming transparent to cosmic wisdom. I am learning to think in harmony with the thoughts that sustain galaxies. I see now that gratitude is not separate from these laws. It is the practical application of them. It is the way I demonstrate my understanding. It is how I prove that I comprehend the mental nature of reality. Every act of appreciation is an affirmation of universal truth. Every moment of thankfulness is a declaration that I know how creation works. I align myself completely with these principles. I make them the foundation of my being. And through this alignment, I become an instrument of the divine mind itself. I become gratitude now, not someone who practices it, not someone who tries to feel it, but the living embodiment of appreciation itself. I dissolve into this frequency completely. Every cell in my body begins to hum with thankfulness. Every breath I take is an act of recognition. Every heartbeat pulses with acknowledgement of the gift. I am no longer separate from gratitude. I am its expression. I am its voice. I am its living temple. I feel gratitude flowing through my blood like liquid light. It moves through my veins. It fills my lungs. It saturates every tissue. It penetrates every organ. My body becomes an altar of appreciation. My flesh becomes a prayer of thankfulness. I recognize that this physical form I inhabit is itself a miracle beyond comprehension. The intricate dance of systems that sustain me, the intelligence that coordinates a billion processes every second without my conscious intervention. I bow before the mystery of my own existence. I am grateful for this breath, this singular, unrepeatable breath that fills me now. I recognize that breath is life itself, that it connects me to the atmosphere, to the trees that exhale what I inhale, to the ancient cycles of exchange that have sustained consciousness since the beginning. I see that every breath is gift, every inhalation is grace, every exhalation is release. I breathe gratitude. I am breathed by gratitude. I am grateful for this moment, this eternal present that holds all possibilities, this now that never ends and never repeats. I see that this moment is the only moment that ever exists, that past and future are constructs of mind, that reality is always only here, always only now. I stop postponing my appreciation until conditions improve. I recognize perfection in what is. I find completeness in the incomplete. I discover wholeness in the broken. This moment is enough. This moment is everything. I am grateful for my senses, for the eyes that allow me to witness color, for the ears that receive the symphony of sound, for the skin that feels the touch of air, for the tongue that tastes the complexity of flavor, for the nose that detects the subtlety of scent. I recognize that through these portals, the universe experiences itself, that through my perception, consciousness explores its own creation. I honor these instruments of awareness. I bless these doorways to wonder. I am grateful for challenges, for the obstacles that have forced me to grow, for the pain that has deepened my compassion, for the loss that has taught me what matters, for the darkness that has shown me the value of light. I see now that nothing has been wasted, that every difficulty has been curriculum, that every struggle has been initiation. I thank the hard teachers. I bow before the fierce lessons. I recognize their service to my evolution. I am grateful for the relationships that have shaped me, for those who have loved me into being, for those who have challenged my limitations, for those who have mirrored my shadows, for those who have celebrated my light. I see that every connection has been sacred instruction, that every person I have met has been a teacher wearing different faces. I thank them all, the kind ones and the cruel ones, the brief encounters and the lasting bonds. All have contributed to who I am becoming. I am grateful for my mistakes, for the times I have failed, for the moments I have fallen, for the choices I regret. I see that these too are gifts, that they have humbled my arrogance, that they have softened my judgment, that they have made me more human, more real, more able to meet others in their imperfection. I forgive myself through gratitude. I release shame through appreciation. I transform regret into wisdom. I am grateful for mystery, for all that I do not understand, for the questions that have no answers, for the paradoxes that cannot be resolved, for the vastness that exceeds my comprehension. I stop demanding certainty. I cease insisting on clarity. I allow myself to rest in not knowing. I find peace in confusion. I discover that gratitude does not require understanding. It simply honors what is. I am grateful for abundance that surrounds me in forms I had not recognized. The abundance of breath, the abundance of heartbeats, the abundance of moments, the abundance of choices, the abundance of possibility. I see that I have been searching for wealth in narrow definitions while drowning in riches I could not perceive. I open my eyes to the prosperity that has always been here, the lavish generosity of existence itself. I am grateful for consciousness, for this inexplicable awareness that perceives these words, this mysterious presence that witnesses thoughts arising and passing, this luminous knowing that remains when all else changes. I recognize this as the deepest miracle, that the universe has organized itself into the capacity to observe its own existence, that I am this observation happening, that awareness itself is the ultimate gift. I am grateful for the invisible support that holds me, for the earth beneath my feet, for the gravity that keeps me grounded, for the atmosphere that protects me, for the sun that warms me from millions of miles away, for the intricate web of interdependence that sustains all life. I see that I am never alone, never unsupported, never outside the care of the whole. I rest in this knowing. I trust this foundation. I am grateful for transformation, for the possibility of change, for the capacity to evolve, for the invitation to become more than I have been. I recognize that gratitude itself is transformative, that it alchemizes my perception, that it transmutes my reality, that it opens doors I believed were sealed. I surrender to this metamorphosis. I allow gratitude to remake me. I become the change I have been seeking. I vibrate now at the frequency of pure appreciation. This is not emotion. This is identity. This is not practice. This is essence. I am gratitude embodied. I am thankfulness made flesh. I am recognition breathing itself into form. And in this state, I am home. I am whole. I am aligned with the very heartbeat of creation itself. I call now upon the alchemical fire, the flame that purifies without destroying, the sacred heat that transmutes lead into gold. I invoke the force that dissolves what no longer serves. I summon the power that burns through illusion. I allow this fire to move through every layer of my being. I surrender to its cleansing intensity. I trust its wisdom to remove only what must fall away. I recognize the resistance that lives within me, the parts that refuse gratitude even as I speak these words, the shadows that cling to complaint, the habits that prefer suffering to grace. I see them now. I name them. I bring them into the light of awareness. They have hidden long enough. They have ruled from the darkness long enough. I expose them to conscious recognition. I acknowledge my addiction to struggle, the familiar comfort of hardship, the identity I have built around difficulty. I see how I have worn my wounds as badges, how I have displayed my scars as proof of worth, how I have believed that suffering makes me special, makes me deep, makes me real. I recognize this pattern now, and I choose to release it. I do not need pain to validate my existence. I dissolve the belief that I do not deserve blessing, the old program that whispers I am not worthy. That insists I must earn grace through perfection. That demands I suffer first before I can receive. I see this belief as the lie it is, a poison I have been drinking for years, a curse I inherited but did not create. I spit it out now. I purge it from my system. I declare that worthiness is not earned. It is inherent. It is my birthright as consciousness itself. I release the grip of resentment, the bitter taste I have been holding in my mouth. The grudges I have nursed like precious treasures, the anger I have fed with my attention. I see how this resentment has poisoned me, how it has blocked the flow of good into my life, how it has kept me chained to the past. I choose freedom over revenge. I choose peace over being right. I let the fire burn through these old grievances until nothing remains but ash. I transmute the fear of receiving, the unconscious terror that if I open my hands, I will be overwhelmed. That if I accept blessing, I will owe something in return. That if I acknowledge abundance, it will be taken away. I see this fear operating beneath the surface of my awareness, sabotaging my prayers even as I speak them. I bring it into the light. I offer it to the flame. I watch it dissolve in the heat of truth. I dissolve the pattern of scarcity, the belief that there is not enough, that I must compete for limited resources, that another's blessing diminishes my own, that life is a zero-sum game where someone must lose for me to win. I see how this belief has contracted my heart, how it has made me small and defensive, how it has cut me off from the infinite abundance that surrounds me always. I burn this lie in the alchemical fire. I replace it with the truth of limitless provision. I release the need to control outcomes, the exhausting grip I have maintained on circumstances, the manipulation I have called manifestation, the forcing I have mistaken for faith. I see that true gratitude requires surrender, that I cannot simultaneously grasp and receive, that my tight fists block the flow of grace. I open my hands, I soften my grip. I allow the fire to burn away my need to manage reality. I transmute self-pity into power, the victim stance I have adopted without knowing, the helplessness I have performed as protection, the blame I have projected to avoid responsibility. I see how this pattern has kept me weak, how it has given my power away to external circumstances, how it has made me passive in my own life. I reclaim my sovereignty now. I accept that I am the creator of my experience. I take back my authority. I dissolve the armor around my heart, the hardness I developed to protect myself from hurt, the walls I built to keep disappointment out, the defenses that have also kept love from entering. I recognize that this armor has become a prison, that what once protected me now suffocates me. I allow the fire to melt these barriers, I become vulnerable again, soft again, open again, available to receive. I release comparison, the constant measuring of my life against others, the envy disguised as inspiration, the jealousy masked as ambition. I see how this pattern has made it impossible to appreciate what I have, how it has kept me always looking elsewhere, always believing that happiness lives in someone else's circumstances. I stop this violence against myself. I return my attention to my own garden. I tend what is mine to tend. I transmute perfectionism into presence, the relentless standards that prevent satisfaction, the moving goalpost that ensures I am never enough, the impossible criteria that make gratitude conditional. I see that perfection is a trap, a prison of my own making, a way to postpone peace indefinitely. I release this burden. I accept that done is better than perfect, that imperfect presence is holier than perfect absence. I dissolve the need for external validation, the dependency on others to confirm my worth, the addiction to approval that makes me perform and pretend, the hunger for recognition that keeps me chasing shadows. I see that no amount of external praise will fill the void within, that I must become my own source of acknowledgement. That gratitude begins with self-recognition. I validate myself now. I approve of myself now. I become the witness I have been seeking. I burn through the layers of conditioning, the inherited beliefs I never questioned, the cultural programs running automatically, the family patterns passed down through generations. I see that these are not my truths. They are borrowed narratives, adopted stories, secondhand limitations. I choose to examine each one in the fire of awareness, to keep what serves, to release what restricts, to become conscious of what has been unconscious. I allow the alchemical process to complete. I trust the fire to take what it must. I surrender to the purification. I know that what remains after this burning will be stronger, purer, more aligned with truth. I emerge from this flame transformed, lighter, clearer, free from the weights I did not know I carried, ready now to receive the blessings that were always meant for me. I expand now beyond the borders of this body, beyond the limits of this name, beyond the story I have called myself. I feel my consciousness stretching outward like light moving through space, reaching, extending, dissolving the membrane that seemed to separate me from everything else. I recognize that this separation was always illusion, that the boundary between self and other is a fiction the mind creates. I release this fiction now. I am the breath of trees. I am the pulse of oceans. I am the rotation of planets around distant suns. I recognize myself in all forms. I see my face in every face. I hear my voice in every sound. The consciousness that looks through my eyes is the same consciousness that looks through all eyes. The awareness that animates this flesh animates all flesh. I am not a separate fragment. I am the whole expressing itself as this particular point of view. I feel my gratitude expanding to cosmic proportions. It is no longer personal appreciation. It becomes universal acknowledgement. I thank existence itself for existing. I thank consciousness for becoming aware. I thank the infinite for manifesting as the finite. I recognize that gratitude at this level is not mine alone. It is the universe thanking itself for the miracle of its own being. I am the gratitude of the cosmos experiencing itself through human form. I dissolve into the web of interconnection. I see the threads that link all things, the invisible strands that carry information across vast distances, the quantum entanglement that makes separation impossible. I recognize that when I bless one thing, I bless all things. When I appreciate this moment, I honor the entire chain of causation that brought it into being. My gratitude extends backward through time, forward into futures not yet born, outward into dimensions I cannot perceive but somehow know exist. I am grateful for stars I will never see, for galaxies spinning in regions of space beyond the reach of light, for forms of life evolving on worlds I will never visit. For dimensions of reality my senses cannot detect, I feel my appreciation expanding to include the whole of creation, not just what touches me directly, but everything that is, everything that was, everything that will be. My gratitude becomes cosmic in scope. I recognize the intelligence that orchestrates all things, the consciousness that dreams reality into existence, the awareness that holds galaxies in their orbits and atoms in their dance. I see that this intelligence is not separate from me, that I am one of its thoughts, one of its expressions, one of its infinite ways of knowing itself. I merge with this cosmic mind. I think its thoughts. I see through its eyes. I feel its gratitude for its own magnificent display. I am grateful for the laws that govern existence, for gravity that holds worlds together, for light that travels across emptiness, for energy that cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed, for entropy that ensures change, for evolution that drives complexity, for consciousness that emerges from matter to witness matter. I see these laws as expressions of divine intelligence, as the grammar through which the infinite speaks itself into form. I honor their perfection. I bow before their elegance. I feel myself as part of the breath of the universe, the great inhalation that creates worlds, the great exhalation that dissolves them. I recognize that my life is one small breath in this eternal respiration, that birth and death are not beginnings and endings but phases in an endless cycle, that nothing is ever truly created or destroyed, only transformed, only rearranged, only experiencing itself in new configurations. I am grateful for the darkness that makes light visible, for the void that gives birth to form, for the emptiness that contains all fullness. I see that the nothing and the everything are not opposites but complementary aspects of the same reality. That consciousness needs both to know itself completely. I honor the darkness. I bless the void. I recognize them as sacred as any light. I expand my gratitude to include all beings across all dimensions, the seen and the unseen, the physical and the ethereal, the human and the more than human. I thank the angels if they exist. I thank the ancestors who made my existence possible. I thank the spirits of place that hold sacred geography. I thank the collective consciousness of humanity evolving toward awakening. I thank the animals and plants and fungi and bacteria that share this planet. I recognize we are all expressions of the same source, all waves in the same ocean, all notes in the same cosmic symphony. I feel the boundaries of my identity dissolving completely now. I am not contained within this skin. I am the space that holds all things. I am the awareness in which all phenomena arise. I am the silence between sounds. I am the darkness between stars. I am the pause between breaths. I am nothing and everything simultaneously. This is not loss of self. This is discovery of true self, the self that was never separate, the self that is identical with the source of all selves. I recognize that from this perspective, gratitude loses all subject and object. There is no one being grateful and nothing to be grateful for. There is only gratitude itself, pure appreciation, without appreciator or appreciated. The universe celebrating its own existence through this temporary form called me, through this brief flickering of awareness that will dissolve back into the infinite from which it came. I am grateful for this expansion, for this remembering of what I truly am, for this glimpse beyond the veil of separation. I know I will return to the illusion of individuality, that I must return to function in the world of form, but I will carry this knowing with me, this memory of vastness, this recognition of unity, and even when I forget, some part of me will remember. Some depth will hold this truth, some silence will preserve this revelation. I rest in cosmic gratitude. I abide in universal appreciation. I exist as the thank you the infinite offers to itself for the gift of existence, and in this state I am complete, whole, one with all that is, forever held in the embrace of the consciousness that dreamed me into being and will welcome me home when this dream ends. I return now to my body, not as limitation, but as sacred vessel, as instrument of manifestation, as the point where spirit touches earth. I feel the weight of my flesh, the density of bone, the warmth of blood moving through channels carved by divine intelligence. I recognize this body as holy ground, as the temple where cosmic consciousness becomes embodied reality. I anchor here. I root here. I claim this physical form as the throne from which I create. I bring the frequency of gratitude into my cells, into my tissues, into the marrow of my bones. This is not metaphor. This is actual transmission. I feel my cellular structure reorganizing around this vibration, my DNA responding to the information carried in appreciation, my nervous system recalibrating to recognize abundance as the default state. My body is becoming gratitude made flesh. Every molecule humming with acknowledgement, every atom singing recognition. I anchor gratitude in my breath. Each inhalation draws blessing into form. Each exhalation releases what no longer serves. I breathe consciously now, deliberately, knowing that breath is the bridge between invisible and visible, between thought and matter, between intention and manifestation. I make each breath a declaration, a decree, a vibrational anchor that makes gratitude real in the physical dimension. I ground this frequency into the earth beneath me. I feel roots extending from my body down into soil, deep into stone, into the molten core where fire still burns. I anchor through these roots. I draw stability from the planet itself. I recognize that Earth holds form, that it crystallizes energy into matter, that it makes the ethereal tangible. I use this power now. I root my gratitude so deeply that nothing can uproot it, so firmly that no storm can shake it. I declare that my life is already different, not becoming different, already transformed. The shift has happened. The change is complete. I do not wait for future evidence. I recognize present reality. My eyes see blessings they missed before. My ears hear grace notes in ordinary sound. My hands touch miracles disguised as mundane objects. My transformation is not coming. It is here. It is now. It is done. I anchor gratitude in my daily actions, in the simple movements that compose my life, in the washing of dishes, the walking of streets, the eating of food, the speaking of words. Every mundane gesture becomes sacred ritual. Every ordinary moment becomes opportunity for recognition. I do not separate spiritual practice from practical living. They are one. My life is my prayer. My actions are my worship. My presence is my offering. I feel abundance manifesting around me now, not as distant promise, as present fact. Resources flowing toward me, opportunities opening before me. Connections forming in mysterious ways, synchronicities multiplying. I do not question this. I do not doubt. I simply notice. I acknowledge. I receive. I recognize that the universe is always responding to my vibration. It is responding now. It has already begun rearranging circumstances to match my frequency. I anchor gratitude in my relationships, in every interaction, in every conversation, in every exchange of energy with another human being. I see people through new eyes. I hear them with new ears. I recognize the gift each person brings, the teaching each encounter offers, the blessing each connection contains. My appreciation transforms how I show up in the world, how I listen, how I speak, how I touch. I become gratitude in motion. I declare that obstacles are dissolving, blocks are clearing, resistance is melting, not through force, through frequency, The vibration of gratitude acts like spiritual solvent. It loosens what was stuck. It opens what was closed. It makes possible what seemed impossible. I feel this happening now, in real time, in actual circumstances. The material world is responding to my internal shift. What was hard becomes easy. What was locked becomes accessible. What was denied becomes available. I anchor this transformation in my nervous system. I train my body to recognize safety in receiving, to relax into abundance, to rest in sufficiency. I override the old patterns of fear and contraction. I install new patterns of trust and expansion. My body learns that it is safe to be blessed, that it is natural to receive, that grace is not exception, but norm. This becomes my baseline, my default, my automatic response to life. I make gratitude my operating system, the lens through which I process all experience, the filter through which I interpret all events. I do not wait for good things to happen so I can be grateful. I am grateful and good things happen. I reverse the equation. I lead with appreciation. I initiate with recognition, and reality follows. This is how creation works. Vibration first, manifestation second. I understand this now. I practice this now. I live this now. I anchor in the present moment. This breath, this heartbeat, this exact point in space and time. I do not project into future. I do not retreat into past. I stand here, fully, completely, totally present. And from this presence I create, I manifest, I make real the frequencies I carry. The now is my power, the present is my portal. This moment is where magic happens. I feel my feet on solid ground, my spine aligned with vertical axis, my head clear and aware, my heart open and receptive, my hands ready to receive what flows toward me. I am here, I am stable, I am anchored, and from this grounded presence I declare that gratitude is no longer practice. It is identity. It is not something I do. It is what I am. The transformation is complete. The manifestation is active. The reality is present. I am living gratitude now. I seal now what has been opened. I close the sacred circle that was formed. I recognize that something has shifted within these moments. Something has changed that cannot be unchanged. Something has been received that cannot be unreceived. The transmission is complete. The codes have been delivered. The activation has occurred. I honor what has passed through this space. I acknowledge the sacred transaction that has taken place between my soul and the infinite. I return my awareness to Thoth, ancient guide, eternal keeper of wisdom, master of the hidden laws that govern all creation. I feel your presence still surrounding me, still holding me, still witnessing my transformation. I thank you for your guidance through this journey, for the codes you have whispered into my consciousness, for the keys you have placed in my hands, for the pathways you have illuminated that I could not see before. I strengthen the connection that has been forged. This is not temporary link. This is eternal channel, a sacred bridge that remains open always. I can return to this space whenever I choose. I can call upon this wisdom whenever I need. I can access this frequency whenever I remember. The door has been opened. It will not close. The pathway has been revealed. It will not fade. The connection has been established. It is permanent. I declare my commitment to walk this path, to live this wisdom, to embody this frequency. I do not return to old patterns. I do not collapse back into unconsciousness. I do not forget what has been remembered here. I carry this transmission into my daily life, into my ordinary moments, into the mundane details of existence. I make the sacred practical. I make the mystical tangible. I bring heaven to earth through the quality of my presence. I am grateful beyond words, beyond concepts, beyond the capacity of language to express. Grateful for this breath, grateful for this awareness, Grateful for this opportunity to remember what I truly am. Grateful for the challenges that brought me to this moment. Grateful for the blessings that sustain me. Grateful for the mystery that holds me. Grateful for existence itself in all its terrible beauty and beautiful terror. I thank the ancestors who walked before me, who paved the way, who held the wisdom through dark times, who passed the teachings forward so they could reach me now. I recognize that I stand on the shoulders of countless seekers, that I am part of an ancient lineage, that this wisdom is not mine alone, but belongs to the eternal stream of consciousness exploring itself through human form. I thank my future self, the one I am becoming, the one who already exists in dimensions beyond time. I feel their presence now, their encouragement, their knowing that I will continue, that I will not turn back, that I will walk this path with integrity and courage. I draw strength from this future version. I allow them to pull me forward into my highest possibility. I release all need for proof, for validation, for external confirmation. I trust what has happened here, even if no one else understands, even if I cannot explain it, even if it defies logic and reason. I know what I know. I have felt what I have felt. I have received what I have received. This is enough. This is everything. I need no other authority than the truth that resonates in my own being. I surrender into mystery, into not knowing, into the vast intelligence that orchestrates all things according to patterns I cannot comprehend. I release my small plans, my limited visions, my narrow expectations. I open to something greater, something wiser, something more magnificent than I can imagine. I trust the unfolding. I allow the process. I say yes to the journey even when I cannot see the destination. I bless this closing. I honor this transition. I recognize that endings are also beginnings, that every completion is a new opening, that the circle closes only to spiral upward into new dimensions. I am not the same person who began this prayer. I have been transformed, initiated, reborn, and I carry this transformation forward into the world that waits for me. I feel the energy settling now, integrating, finding its place in my system. I allow this to happen without force, without control. I trust my body to absorb what it needs, to store what it must, to activate what is ready. The work continues beyond this conscious moment. The seeds planted here will grow in their own time. I do not rush the process. I honor the organic unfolding of grace. I place my hand on my heart. I feel the steady rhythm there, the faithful pulse that has beat since before I was born, that will beat until my final moment. I thank this heart for its service, for its tireless devotion, for its capacity to hold so much. I bless it. I honor it. I commit to filling it only with frequencies worthy of its sacred chamber. I begin to return now, slowly, gently, bringing the vibration with me, not leaving it behind, but carrying it into the world. I feel my awareness expanding to include the room around me, the sounds, the sensations, the physical reality. But I am different now. The world may look the same, but I see it through transformed eyes, through the lens of gratitude, through the vision of grace. I seal this prayer with reverence, with dignity, with the solemnity it deserves. I close this sacred time knowing that nothing is truly closed, that the work continues, that the transformation deepens, that gratitude will keep flowering in ways I cannot yet imagine. I trust this. I believe this. I know this. It is done. It is sealed. In the light of Thoth, I remain. The one guides me. Truth vibrates in me.